Hey, this is Notser, and we are in the Tier 8 French cruiser, Charles Martel. He has 38,000 health, a top speed of 32.5 knots, 9 203mm guns, 6 torpedoes, a surface detect of 11.7 kilometers, and 48 AA defense rating. For my modules, reduce crit chance on main armament, improved aiming accuracy, reduce the chance of flood and fire, faster rudder shift, improved steering mod. For my commander, priority target, direction center, catapult fighter, expert marksman, adrenaline rush, superintendent, demolition expert, vigilance, and concealment. We are on the map Hotspot, and this particular ship, 32.5 knots, not acceptable to me. Not an acceptable speed, especially when you consider that speed boost is going to give 3 to 4 knots, 10%. That's 36 knots. Really? Really? That's basically the speed of a lot of cruisers at this tier, or very close to it. It needs to be 37, 38, 39. It needs to be pushing to an extreme speed while speed boost is up. That is just my opinion. I just feel like that should be the role. The French cruisers should be that responsive cruiser that can come from a different side of the map and assist, turning a 1 versus 1 into a 2 versus 1 in your favor. Or a 1 versus 2 into a 2 versus 2. That is what they're good at. And we're going to try and explore that in this game. You know, you never know. Maybe an enemy destroyer might break through. There's not a lot of cruisers that can keep up with the destroyer, and we'll see if we can. Now, the build I've gone is slightly different from the other previous builds. Why is that? Well, nobody plays aircraft carriers on the American server, so that's a wasted build. So I went with something that's a little bit more universal in its use. Superintendent, obviously. There is sort of a bug right now where the speed boost, the non-premium speed boost, has a better percentage gain. Now it's only 2%. It's still not enough. 3 knots. 3 knots. That's basically what you're getting out of speed boost. But the build is going to be more universal in its utility against destroyers, cruisers, and battleships. And interestingly, during this, I really like this position. This will hide any weaknesses, and this Leningrad's probably going to die. This will hide any weaknesses that you might have with your armor. This particular spot, well, if there was no aircraft, is really good at requiring the enemy to not have a line of sight on you. It's very difficult for them to even engage you. And it's not new, right? This is not new, but this enemy, Miyoko, is showing too much size, so I decided to swap back to AP. You do end up playing, and yeah, we got a Citadel, nice. You do end up playing the French cruisers a lot like the late tier American cruisers, where you're sort of bow on, relying only on your front. Good placement, good placement. Tier 7, Tier 8 cruisers, they're not going to have enough armor to really change the way AP is functioning. AP is really, and HE, they really don't function as well as you would like. I've played early tier 4 is great. That tier 4 is really good, but mid to late tier, they just drop off. All the other cruiser lines get better and better and better. Well, hopefully they do. And this one just plays the same, doesn't really get any more damage. Rate of fires, subpar. It's near the Japanese, but it doesn't have the HE shell of the Japanese, and even the AP shell of the Japanese is more impressive. So what you end up doing, really, is you need to outthink your opponent in this particular ship line. And this ship is no different. It's not fast enough to really scream at you, wow, you could do it. The speed boost is not good enough for you to feel like you're really moving into an overdrive. And that's honestly what I would hope it would do. All I'm trying to do is harass and reduce the threat to my ship. And this enemy, New Mexico, seems to be moving forward. And oh, we're detected. Oh, we need to get the hell out of here because this is going to be bad. Now, if you turn on the speed boost, it should boost your engine output just completely from the get-go. I probably could have done that, but I really was hoping that I could just line of sight, even though I'm detected, and still continue the pressure. Enemy Miyoko is a little brave. I think he's a little brave. We're going to get a little bit of damage. We've got a friendly Arizona. Friendly Atago could engage him. There is a potential to swap to AP. And we're just gonna stick with HE for now. And it was probably a good idea because friendlies are able to take them out. So the game isn't completely lost, but it's not won at all. We're still very much in the position where we need to make a play. We need to impact the game. 3 to 5 enemies are in at A. My team is mostly in between A and B. Now there's a North Carolina that's probably a little bit too far forward. Granted, most of the enemy is hidden in smoke, and that's because there's cruisers and destroyers in the area. I don't know if this is completely different from separate from the ship. There's a lot of smoke, right guys? There is a lot of smoke usage now. Every single destroyer pretty much uses their smoke on cooldown and is firing from smoke. Every single cruiser already did just that, who had smoke. It really feels like you need to find these targets and not be caught out by their smoke charge. When they use their smoke and you're detected, you can't do anything. You just can't. This doesn't have radar. This is hydroacoustic. Yep, the North Carolina predictably dies. Enemy dies just in front of the North Carolina. And enemy Kutuzov, who has smoke and will probably use it. Anytime I see an enemy like this, it tells me he is going to smoke very soon. He would not willfully show himself that long. So I use the OK torpedoes. I got 9-kilometer range, but there's only 3 of them. I'm going to send them at the Leningrad. And I knew right away, way overextended. There's 4 to 5 enemy ships here. This is what the North Carolina felt. And this is why the North Carolina should not have done that. So I'm going to retreat. I have no hope of survival if I'm overextended. That's really, really blatantly obvious whenever you play the French, and whenever you go up against it, you need to punish it extremely hard. Just use AP and shoot under the front 2 guns. That is a universal weak point of pretty much the last 5 to 4 French cruisers. You have a direct line to their citadel. So, we pull back, engage the North Carolina. Looks like there's an enemy Benson who just finished off a Pensacola, and I expected the Pensacola to perhaps survive, but he doesn't. So we're just going to continue forward, and we're going to try and engage the Benson. Now, the Benson, holding his fire, clearly he knows he's going to drop off, but I get a nice shot, a fair, reasonable lead, and I'm able to kill him, actually, which was a shocker to me. So I really appreciate whenever I'm given an opportunity to hunt down a destroyer in a cruiser. There is really nothing the destroyer can do. It doesn't matter how good or bad your ship is. A cruiser should always beat a destroyer. And that's what I did. Now, there is a Leningrad that could potentially move forward, and I felt like the enemies had transitioned away, and of course the Atlanta. Every Atlanta does this. They all park themselves behind an island, and they just arc shells overhead. Oh, I was lucky that a Citadel did not enter, a AP shell did not enter my Citadel there. It's very dangerous to have any side profile whatsoever towards an enemy. You really need to go one by one on different targets. So I'm going to try and hide behind an island as well. There are a couple destroyers, the last known position. There's actually like 4 or 5 ships over here. This is really dangerous, Notser. This is not something I would actually do. I was hoping that perhaps I could get damage, and when we do set a fire, it's probably going to force out damage control. So that's just the way it works out. I really felt like I overextended into this position. I was trying to make a play. We really should have just pulled back, and I will indeed try to. Enemy Sims, for whatever reason, is showing himself. I don't know why. He feels like he could beat the Kiev. I think the Kiev would crush him. Really don't want to pick on a Soviet destroyer. The Soviet destroyer should beat you, should wreck you, but you never know. You never know. The quality of the player, it could influence the engagement. I just wouldn't take that risk. I would really make sure that I'm close to a Soviet destroyer, or I had a 2 versus 1, or any number of things, and yep, enemies trying, but thankfully, the Leningrad, the Kutuzov, every enemy is outside of my detection, so I could actually run away. The enemy destroyer that was in the smoke clearly changes direction. Now, this enemy Kutuzov is showing a ton of his side, and he's very lazy with his angling. It's almost like he doesn't respect me, and we need to put that to rest. He must feel the might of my guns, and we do indeed get his citadel. That's about all we got out of that, but we do indeed get a citadel shot, while the Leningrad is still harassing my team. So I'm going to go after that Leningrad. I'm going to go after it and kill him. That's the goal. AP at this point, probably not good. The AP is just not good enough to fire at a target that is angled at all. Oh, we could get punished. Oh, that Scharnhorst. That was close. That was a little, like, life flashed before my eyes. So I use my speed boost. I'm going to take the Leningrad out. The Leningrad can easily engage me at his maximum range, but he was being greedy. He wanted to go after someone else that is outside of my range, or just on the inside half of my team. Who is it? Don't know, but I'm going to go after him. I use hydroacoustic and my aircraft to give me the best possible chance to dodge out of the way of torpedoes. I really need to just kill this guy. He seems to be aggressive. He seems to think that he can operate freely, and there's no risk that he's going to be in a position where he'll be overextended. Right? That's what I'm reading. And he did indeed pop his smoke. Curious. Very curious. So I could angle to send my torpedoes. Haven't really worked out. He decides to send his. The combination of hydroacoustic, vigilance, detectability. We've seen these a mile away, and there's no way they should hit us. But I'm going to continue forward. I am going to try and have hydroacoustic up so I can take him out. Oh, he's surprised. He is very surprised that I have hydroacoustic to see inside of smoke, and he is booking it. We know he's used his torpedoes, and I'm just trying to rotate around the island quick enough that he can't hide. Because if he hides, it's over. He's going to drop off detection and just kite me away. So the back gun can't fire around the island, but our front guns absolutely can. And we easily take him out. Torpedoes not a part of that engagement. After the initial, hydroacoustic allowed me to see him in his smoke, and we're going to move back. So that's a little departure from my other French cruiser videos. I really don't feel like they're worth anything for AA protection. And there's no aircraft carriers on North America. I really can't express this. Yeah, tier 4, tier 5, maybe tier 6. But there's just nobody who plays aircraft carriers except for 1 in 20 and 1 in 30. That is not worth a build. You cannot design around the existence of 1 in 20, 1 in 30 games that there's going to be an aircraft. And look at this. Atlanta, Scharnhorst, Kutuzov, all those ships could die. We could easily get an advantage over here. And I'm going to try and assist on the Atlanta. The Atlanta is turning, though. My teammates are in a great position to take them out. It's not really a big deal that I assist or not assist. I'm just going to try and assist, and maybe it'll change the outcome, which it didn't, of course. Enemy Kutuzov, enemy Scharnhorst is trying to run away. Easily engage these targets. The velocity's okay. It's better than the Americans, but not by much. All right, that was a wasted shot, too. Finally, let's get to the North Carolina. It's 4 versus 5. Enemy still has an advantage, but it's not the end of the world. We could still win this game. There is a Mogami over by Sea Point, and I need to keep that in mind. But if we all go after the North Carolina, we can take him out. Of course, he's going to fire me. So we got to change our angle very quickly, and that's what my build allows me to do. Changing that angle. You need to. You really need to re-angle, and he might be showing a lot of sides, so I'm going to go to AP. Try and keep a good eye on the Mogami. He could easily switch to AP and punish, so we need to get this dead quick. Thankfully, the North Carolina's like, I'm not going to go after you, so I'll broadside AP you. That sounds good to me. Works out. Should have let him a little bit more. I'm going to keep the AP because the Mogami's coming around this island, and he's going to be showing a ton of his side. And he is firing AP, which is 1 salvo too late. Now my AP just barely misses Citadel. Still 63, not bad. Enemy destroyer sent torpedoes, and he is clearly capturing B point. The destroyer torpedoes are not going to hit us. He still has AP loaded. That's really cute. It's really cute that he thinks I would ever allow him to use AP. And I'm hoping that he will allow me to use AP against him. And, oh man, we have a destroyer. This is probably a mistake by me. I felt like I could swing my guns around and go after him, still maintaining good angle, obviously. Still need to maintain that good angle, and by the time my turret gets into position, he is outside of detectability. So I just wasted probably 3 to 4 salvos trying to get in position on the enemy destroyer. So that happened. Unfortunate. But the enemy Mogami is going to give us a little bit of side. A little bit too much side, I might say. And we get a Citadel, which is good, and he is still firing AP for whatever reason. Please fire HE when there is a bow on target. You will never penetrate the front of any equal class, equal tier. Tier 8 versus Tier 8, yeah, there he goes. Finally, he switches to HE, and this is what he should have done the whole time. He is barely showing the possibility that we could penetrate his side. I do switch to HE because I want to set fires, and HE's doing okay damage. You can just barely get the Citadel if I place it in the right spot, and I'm very thin. Very, very thin to dodge all the way. Keep up the fire, avoid the torpedoes. This fire will stick because the previous one he put out, and can I dodge all the way? No, he actually does set us on fire. Now I have a theory in this engagement. He is going to over-angle to get all his guns into position. He is greedy. When he's going to be greedy, I'm going to use AP on his side. Now, it sounded like it would work out really well, but we actually probably lost damage doing so. HE might have killed him. Just a little bit, maybe too much greed on my part in the ammo selection, but we eventually take him out and we will die to fire. This enemy Sims are just firing behind the island. Can't really do anything about it. He's not really doing any damage. It's the fire that's stuck on the ship, and I'm just not going to be able to do anything. The Scharnhorst might die before the game ends. Oh, of course he's got to heal, and then I die, and the game's over. So the ship, it's all right. I probably could have done better in an Atago or any other tier 8. 4 kills, 140,000 damage. Speed of the ship just as impressive. 1,595 base XP, 4 kills. It's just, the speed boost is not giving me the oomph. It's just making me a normal cruiser at that point. That's the way I feel. I hope this was interesting. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time. And the guns are okay. You know, it's a 203, whatever.